So today is Thursday, December 15th, 2016. Excuse me, this voice thing is throwing me off just a little bit. And I have a wonderful guest to share with you today. Her name is Sarada Chiruvolu. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Sarada. And she's joining us in just a few moments to discuss her journey into higher realms of consciousness. But before I bring her on, I want to tell you a little bit about her. Sarada left a pharmaceutical career to pursue a spiritual calling. She set out on a unique journey that has taken her toward attaining realization of self or enlightenment through many years of deep meditation. Over the years, Sarada continues to lead a normal family life, dedicating her time toward various philanthropic pursuits wherever she can make a difference. Her focus is always on the most rudimentary needs of people because it is these essentials that are the most important, and if they're not taken care of, then a detrimental cycle ensues. Sarada is the author of Home at Last, A Journey Toward Higher Consciousness, and she lives in Princeton, New Jersey. She travels extensively to other countries and annually to India to work toward her mission. Sarada, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for that beautiful introduction. I'm so happy to be on your show today.
Well, I'm really happy to have you here, too. Now, your book, Home at Last, A Journey Toward Higher Consciousness, is the story of your personal spiritual journey and what you experienced along the way that can help others along their own unique personal journey as well. And you were born and raised in India, but you've been living in the United States since you were about 14 years old. And I'm just curious, did you grow up in a spiritually focused home, or was the focus more on education and the pursuit of higher academia?
I would say this latter. Mostly, education was the primary thing everybody, most of the Indians focus on for their children, and I was one of them too. Not so much spiritual side. I mean, they do in India, a lot of them, but not my family per se. My family is not practicing or anything, toward too much spirituality. Could be meditation, could be ritualistic events or this and that. I mean, we believe in higher source that directs and dictates all our lives, and we know there's a higher power. We respect that and pray, and once in a while, and to each his own. I mean, we don't really. I wasn't practicing anything per se.
Well, it sounds like a typical home you would find in America, actually.
Yeah. And like you said, I came when I was almost 13, completed 14 going on. I came to U.S. and I left India anyway. I grew up the rest of my life here, and I've been here since then.
So what was it that caused you to begin your spiritual journey toward higher consciousness? And what is your definition of higher consciousness?
Good question. First question to answer you, I didn't really plan or was practicing or was looking toward this direction or it with an intent to get self-realization or become something different than what I was doing. I mean, it's like I wasn't. A lot of people do meditations from the beginning or working on some type of ritualistic things or some kind of a goal they always have toward attaining something higher to raise their consciousness or to unite with the universal divinity. I didn't even know any of those things. I wasn't really looking or nor was I practicing, so I didn't do any of them. It was suddenly it had happened to me. It was like a turning point where a sudden switch, like somebody has turned on a switch within me that took me in a different direction, rather, start realizing, wow, what is life all about? Why am I here? Or what's going on? kind of like a calling type of thing, I would say. Something wanted me to turn around, go in a different direction. That's what it happened. I was leading a normal life, just like everyone out there, with a husband, 2 kids, family, all the laundry that comes with it. Okay, I was doing okay with everything. I was working in a pharmaceutical company. I was happy. Everything fine, but suddenly it took a turn. Could be I was also practicing Reiki for a while prior to that, and got into. My husband had a heart attack at one point, which devastated me a while back. But I don't think that's the reason really for the turnaround. I don't know. I couldn't say that 100%. That's the reason I got into this, but. However, one thing led me to another, and I got into meditation eventually,
Mm.
So
And
that's
so,
how it started, actually. It's a sudden movement toward, and then there's a strange disinclination toward life all of a sudden that had happened to me, when the turn took over. So I went through that for a year or so, like that,
well, Sarada, I think we're going to go into a break for just a few moments. So when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation and find out also what your definition of higher consciousness is. And so we'll be back in just a moment. Please stay tuned, everyone, for more of Intuitive Transformations Radio on OMTimes.com.
The future of Internet radio is here. Om Times Radio, IOM FM.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness in action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I was sensitive to lights and sounds, so I built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. Sometimes I did the same things over and over, until one day I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
We are back. This is Sylvia Henderson on the Intuitive Transformation Show at OMTimes.com, and I have with me my very special guest, Sarada Chiruvolu. I'm sorry, Sarada. I have a hard time sometimes with
Sarada.
I will just call you Sarada. And we're talking about her new book, Home at Last, A Journey Toward Higher Consciousness. And before we went to the break, Sarada was sharing about that turnaround moment in her life. She started asking a few different questions about what is life about, what is her life about. One thing kind of led to another, and that because your book is titled, part of the title is A Journey Toward Higher Consciousness. What is your definition of higher consciousness?
I would say it's tapping into divinity that we all have within. I would say that's the easiest way to explain. We need to tap in and raise our consciousness to a point where you actually feel it, you actually realize it, actually be there in that moment of blissfulness and realize who you really are, that ultimate oneness of everything, that experience of this existence and the unification of everything that is. That's what reaching higher states of consciousness means. When you get to that point, then you're finally home. You get that sense of knowing that leaves us finally, I am finally I know finally who I am, or I know finally who we all are, where we come from. It just comes with that understanding and that knowing all of a sudden.
Yeah, I love that definition because it really is about that self-awareness, that self-realization of who and what we truly are, not these conditioned mindsets and structures that people have taught us we're supposed to be. It's really finding out who we authentically are.
Yeah, to be in that heightened state of awareness, eventually.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Right.
That is beautiful. So, I know that one of the things you talk about in your book is how you had stepped into Reiki, and you mentioned before the break your husband had a health issue, and so you were using Reiki with him. But how did you transition from Reiki into meditation as a form of your form of choice for spiritual truth and awareness and inner healing as well?
Yeah, this is very interesting. I was doing Reiki with the, trying to see what is it that, beyond the modern medicine and the drugs and the pills and all sorts of things that help in general people. I mean, those are all needed, but there's got to be something spiritual. There got to be something out there, that energy that heals people, that cosmic energy, that vital energy that's there in the universe. That kind of intrigued me into, knowing more about it. And so while I was doing Reiki, I used to feel that tingling sensation in my hand and the energy movement. I used to be really, wonder and question all that. And one thing after that, while I was practicing Reiki and doing, it kind of took me to practice sitting there quietly and contemplating on all this, So that itself made me get into some kind of a meditative state, meditation. I didn't even know up to that point how to meditate or what to do. Why should I meditate? None of this about. And it kind of took me to meditation. And they say with Reiki, your chakras are already cleansed. Therefore, it's easier when you try to absorb that cosmic energy. You're already kind of clearing those avenues that where the energy movement takes place. So it made it easy for me to meditate. Actually, but kind of sitting quietly, and one thing led to another, and then I was soon, without my knowledge, I was meditating. That's how I got into that. And I used to love it. And then thereafter, I used to sit still. And, half an hour, 15 minutes, that increased it eventually. And then I learned how to meditate, and I was, rather than in Reiki, more interested in meditating. That's how it was.
I really love how it was a very organic thing that just happened. And, there are a lot of schools of meditation, a lot of rules and, how it should be done, and you have to sit in a lotus position. And I love that this was just an organic, natural progression and occurrence, because there's so many ancient texts that teach about the importance of meditation, and yet people feel it's inaccessible because, well, I haven't studied it. It's just focus on your breath. I mean, for a moment, it's about just being present more than anything.
Yeah, it usually helps you, actually. Meditation helps those that have that constitution to intent to want to learn or want to be there. It comes to them automatically in a way. That's how I felt when it was doing that to me, I mean, I know in general it's a difficult task for people, and there are a bunch of teachers out there teaching how to meditate. And in my case, none of the above. I was not having a teacher. I did not have learned from anybody how to meditate. It came to me. It sort of made me go through that channel somehow. That tells you something, as if I was supposed to do that,
Absolutely. And so, but after years, when you've of meditating on your own and you were getting some amazing changes happening in your life. You quit your career. I mean, you left your job. You started pursuing spiritual avenues more consciously. And you were eventually led to a spiritual teacher or guru who I'm very familiar with as well, and that's Sri Amma Karunamai, and because she visits here in the Western Washington area once a year. Both Ammas do, the hugging Amma as well as Amma Karunamai. So why her? What was it about her and her teachings that resonated so strongly within you that you decided to become one of her devotees?
That's true. It is like more perhaps that was my intention, my kind of a wish, sort of. I wanted to meet someone from India. I know that land I respect so much, and it has such a high spiritual background it comes with, all these people. Some people go there just to meditate. The land itself has such a high vibrational impact, and that's very conducive for meditation and everything. And I always liked it for that aspect. I mean, I'm among, just like any other country, I'm sure they all have their negatives as well. But in this aspect, I think I regard India to be quite enriched in spiritual uplifting oneself. So I wanted somebody over from there I know there are many teachers out here at that time when I was searching for one, looking into it. In my latter part of my journey, I found Amma Karunamai. You're right. I wanted to speak with somebody. I wanted to really have a one-on-one conversation to sort of understand more. What's this all about? Why am I going through this? All that. I wanted to have a talk. And then I found out she's coming to U.S. and she does discourses and she does one-on-one individual blessings where I can have a chat with her. That's how I found out, and I encountered her. And it's like some of these individuals, some of these beings, with this they project such high vibrational energy, field that their state of consciousness uplifts you when you're just there with them, I wanted somebody like that. So they would understand me, my way of being and where I am at or what's going on. So I was so curious. And I think, in a way, she called upon for me to come there. There was this attraction, this pull toward her later on with me. I wanted to go there for some reason. So that force and the pull brought me to her eventually. So I went and saw her in one of the times when she was in the East Coast.
And it wasn't too long after that you actually came to visit her ashram in southern India. And so what was that like for you? Do you feel that really, I mean, you've already spoken about the vibration that's in India, this the spirituality of that, the land there, and because many have meditated for thousands of years, and it's rich in that as a practice. And so, but what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was excellent. I was thrilled. Until then, believe it or not, after I came to U.S., I never went back to India because my whole family is in U.S. The only time I went back to that land was to know more about how to be in that serenity where it's more conducive for me to uplift myself a lot more hours and a lot more in that serene place where I can meditate and just be there, rather than worrying about in a home atmosphere, doing all the tasks and doing this, doing that, running around, and then still finding time to do so. So that's why I went and attended 3 of her retreats that she had done in India at her ashram in south of India. And it was excellent, I would say. I think my meditations were much deeper, and being with her, close to her, and getting her advice and her inspiration and her discourses, listening to her. I had used tools that she had given, and they all resonated with me very nicely. The way I was thinking is exactly the way she was telling. It all sort of like... how do you say, perfect alignment with the way I was thinking and doing. it really raised my consciousness to a point where much faster, I was in that serenity much faster, and I think the perception had a much more clarity in my meditations, and it really was great. And I think as I had said, I was already trying to meditate for many years prior to meeting Amma. I was already, there most of the time. And this was just made the difference, that last trigger that needed for me to do that little push, giving me that excellent uplifting with her. And I think I tapped into that serenity very easily after I went to her ashram.
That's beautiful. I mean, as I hear you talk about hours of meditation at one time, I know that those who have that Western cultural, we're a mindset because we're so,
busy.
well, it's not just busy. It's like we just have such a short attention span. And for the most part, we try to avoid being alone with our thoughts and with our inner self. We look for distractions as often as we can. And, to be quite honest, I mean, one of the things that people tend to reach for so that they don't feel their feelings, so they do disconnect, is not meditation, but medication. And, the thing about it is you can't push away that. You really need to be able to embrace all of who you are. So we'll be back in just a moment to continue our conversation about Home at Last, a journey toward higher consciousness with Sarada.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, Om Times Radio, IOM FM. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We're back from the break. And Sarada, so in your book, Home at Last, A Journey Toward Higher Consciousness, you really focus extensively on meditation. And before I went to the break, I was talking about how in Western society we have a very short attention span, it seems like, especially here in the U.S. We do everything we can to distract ourselves from being alone with ourselves. It's like we're afraid of what is going on in our thought processes and afraid to feel our emotions. And so knowing that about Western culture, what are some of the things that some of the listeners can do who really want to move into meditation, but they say they've tried it, it doesn't work for them, or being consistent, it's too, I want my results right away, and they give up. but they want to be able to get there. They want to move through this. They want to experience higher levels of consciousness. And I know you have some great advice in your book, but for those who are listening, is there something that you can share with them that can help them along their way?
Sure, definitely. You're right in a lot of things with what you had said just now about attention span, and they just cannot sit still, and that we all go through it, actually. Not only Westerners, I mean, a majority of humans, we're all kind of restless, and we want to get to this, get to that, and rather do those things than sit still, right? Mm-hmm. But I think, what they can do, maybe just find 10 minutes or 5 minutes in a day where they can sort of, before they get up and get into this rat race of things to do, and or before they sleep in the night, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. Just kind of relax and sit in a quiet place, same time. Make it a habitual thing, just like we watch a TV show, or let's say we have something that you love to do every day, after dinner or whatever. So make it a point that every day we do same place, same time, we go to a room, sit quietly by yourself. That's rule number one. It has to be a habit, and we need to prioritize our events in a daily tasks. What is more important for you? Is that your health? Is that your, where your mind to be? And so everything matters. Now, 5 minutes we can dedicate to our own selves, right, to uplift ourselves. So that's what I say. And also, one more thing, a tool I'll give everyone to use. Take a deep breath 5 times. We call it in Eastern culture pranayama. That's like taking with one nostril, take a deep breath, let go in the other, and the same nostril, you take a deep breath again and let go the other. That's one cycle. If you do that before you even sit still for 5 minutes, that will calm it down, your vibrations, and you align everything. You kind of calm mind a little bit so that you're not bombarded by all the agitations or things to do or things pending to do. They're not going to bug you too much. So that would be something simple. Everybody can do that. It's not something that's time-consuming, nor is it difficult to do.
Yeah, and what I love about that is just how portable the breath is. It's with you wherever you go. It's incredibly accessible, and it's one of the most potent tools that you have to help quiet your mind, to help bring you out of that anxiety, is by slowing down your breath. It slows down the central nervous system.
Yes, definitely. And you can do that even daily, not just for meditation purpose. Even in the nature, take a walk and take a deep breath and let it go, That calms your mind tremendously and sort of uplifts you in normal day-to-day life as well, to do your tasks in a better mind, better set of framework,
And that makes such a big difference, because when you have a calm mind, your whole life changes, because then you're not in your reactive brain. You're able to tap in to connect with yourself. I believe that everyone is intuitive. Everyone has an inner guidance. You can hear that much more clear, feel it much more clearly when you have a quiet mind. But when your mind is obsessed with these racing thoughts, it can be torturous. It's a tormenting thing. And meditation is such a wonderful gateway to step out of that.
Right, exactly. And that's not only just to self-realize or get enlightenment. Meditation helps for millions of people out there. They are doing it also, a lot of them, for a lot of reasons. They restlessness, stress, BP, reducing it, and all sorts of, the list goes on. And it helps a normal life as it is, if you can just do that. I mean, you can, toward attaining realization and attaining enlightenment, that's a whole new ballgame. But meditation, is a simple way to lead a great life is good enough, to start with.
Yeah. What I really did appreciate about your book is there's a lot of books out there on spiritual enlightenment and meditation, and I get to read a book a week. So I know that there's a lot of information out there. But what I really appreciated in your book is when you were sharing in the beginning about how there came a moment or a time period where reality shifted for you so much. It brought up a lot of questions of uncertainty about where you were emotionally. So what was that all about, that part of your journey?
You're referring to, you mean before I even got into meditation, or is that?
Well, when you were first doing meditation, after you had left your position as a in the pharmaceutical industry, and you started to question, am I feeling depressed? Because your reality was shifting so much through meditation.
Correct. Yeah, that was a hard time for me, actually, because I was neither here nor there type of situation. You're like stuck in the middle of some kind, As it is, like, I'm a housewife. I'm a, normal life leading, doing everything. So everything kind of depended on me to function well in this world, like, But with all these things going on the other side, I was like totally restless and agitated within myself, which I couldn't share with anybody, actually. Then they would say, well, what's going on? Maybe you ought to go see a doctor and get some antidepressants or something, because I was down the dumps, actually, for a while, because I didn't want to do anything. It didn't feel like I wanted to do even any kind of a housework, cooking, cleaning, etc., and not even talk about the work I'm doing at pharmaceutical. And, of course, I was performing well and everything, but I just didn't want to continue any longer. I wanted to kind of follow up on what's been eating me. It's like directing me, to forcing me toward. Yet I was hesitant, what should I do? What should I do? So it's like, that's kind of a feeling like depression, but it's not a depression because my interest and anxiety and the push and the force and the thirst was toward divinity, finding out what is life is all about. What is this? Why are we here? That type of questioning sort of taken me to different levels of being, taken me to accomplish what I wanted to. And I wanted to be after continuously, not give up. I wanted that search to complete. I wanted to, then I dropped everything and anything if I have to. I could have even gone out of my home if I have to, but I didn't, because I felt deep responsibility to stay with the family, stay with everything, and continue doing what I'm doing in a nicer way, in trying to integrate everything. I did my best. But yes, a phase went through where I was like, a strange disinclination toward life, toward everything that world has to offer me. That's what I went through. That's like a withdrawal, desirelessness, detachment of everything and everyone, even relationships. I mean, you love them and everything. You want to be with them. It's just that there's a strange kind of a, you have it or you don't have it. It didn't make any difference. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
To explain, but I went through that for a year and a half.
Well, and the reason I so appreciated it is that, the spiritual journey is not a straight upward climb. It is it's like birthing a baby, going forward and coming back, going forward and coming back, so to speak, for those of you who've had children. And so it really is about that releasing of the old content in varying degrees. And you actually had a Kundalini awakening.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
You experienced that. Yeah, you could feel it. And you were very fortunate to have it happen over time. I know of some people that have had spontaneous Kundalini awakenings, and it's quite jarring to your to the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, the ego as well, because it's such a sudden shift. So there's so much conversation about Kundalini and Kundalini awakening in the spiritual community, but from your perspective, can you just briefly share what that is?
Yeah, sure. Kundalini's energy is something that's dormant, in every one of us until some kind of a transformational impact turns you around, that it's time. We're all evolving at a certain pace, it's a journey, right? When one gets that ability to transcend, that's when the Kundalini will be awakened. that rested, the energy that's resting there, because that energy is needed to make your soul go back and reunite with the universal consciousness or universal oneness. So that's needed, that extra energy that's been sitting there. That will not be awakened until each soul is ready and they had fulfilled everything in what they're supposed to. This is all like a game we're in, right? So like eventually we all will reunite with our source as we have come from the source. So when one turns around, when it's their time to tap into that, then that's when Kundalini will be awakened. That energy is definitely needed for the soul to go and reach to that ultimate point. And that's what happens. And that's all up to individuals, how you raise it up, how you take the advantage of that extra energy and meditate more and use it appropriately so that it will help you rather than, waste it. When it's so activated, when it's awakened, you need to know there's a lot of work ahead of you to do. It's not something, I know a lot of awakening happens to a lot of people, but if you don't do anything about it, it will give you some issues and problems, and it'll kind of subside eventually. And that purpose of that Kundalini energy is to use it. That it's like a 50-watt bulb, and all of a sudden you have this 100, 200-watt bulb, all of a sudden bright. All that energy is accessible to you to use it correctly, to lift yourself up. Meditation and enlightenment and realizing your own divinity needs a lot of energy. Normal energy we have, not enough.
Yes. We'll be back in just a moment after the break. This is Sylvia Henderson on the Intuitive Transformation Show with Sarada. Please stay tuned. There's more to come.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Welcome back, everyone. And Sarada, before we went to the break, you were explaining the Kundalini energy and its purpose. And what I love that you said was, eventually we all will reunite to Source because we all come from Source. And I do believe that even what's playing out in the world is to help consciousness awaken within humanity to the truth that we are all just one. We're one race, and that's the human race. And it's more than just that. We're all one consciousness. And it's when, and this is just part of that evolutionary process of realizing that. In a sense, I feel like the whole world is going through its own Kundalini awakening, so to speak. So
everybody's thirsty. Yes, they're all kind of looking toward that and going toward that direction. I
agree. I agree. So, Sarada, can you let everyone know how they can get in touch with you, how they can get your book, Home at Last, A Journey Toward Higher Consciousness?
The book is nationwide. It's been published around this time last year by White Cloud Press. You can get it, actually. You can order it if you want lots of them. You can order from White Cloud Press as well. And they got a lot of distributors, Ingrid and New Leaf. A lot of distributors carry my book. Barnes & Noble carries it, and Amazon, of all the places. Right away, it has it. Easiest way to get it. It's Kindle and everything, electronic. You can also download it. It's there. And my webpage is homeatlast.sarada.com. You can go to my webpage. You'll see a lot of blogs I write all the time, and it talks about my life in general, about everything I did so far, everything I'm still doing in this earth. You can contact me through my email. It's also there in my webpage.
And one of the things about your book, too, is that you donate the proceeds to an organization. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. That's a very good point. All my proceeds for the book my share of it, not the publisher gets his share, but everything 100% from my check goes to Amma Karunamai's humanitarian projects that she does, a lot of them in India. And it's an honor to give it to my teacher. I love her and I respect her. Such gratitude. She did so much for me. And I always have been doing a lot of things for her. Especially now with the book proceeds, yes, they all go to her projects.
Beautiful. So in your book, when you created this, which is really, it's chock full of information because, I mean, you've traveled to other spiritual sites in India. You give people 10 steps, 10 things to be aware of along the spiritual path that they can use that will support them and help them. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then
because it's not only just about my journey. I gave them a lot of information, guidance to anybody that's in any kind of a spiritual involved with the spiritual practices. It'll help them just in general about taking care of your health first. That's the most important. If you don't take care of your health and you eat right, sleep well, exercise, and maintain it, when that kundalini arises, they're going to have an impact on your nervous system, on your digestive system, and all the organs will start getting haywired, So for that, you got to be strong. You have to keep your body strong to be able to handle everything, And so I really emphasize that in one of the chapters in my book. And I also give a lot of information about, breathing and other tools. And most of all, it contains a lot of insights that I have experienced myself during my journey. So that can help like a signpost, How do you know if you're meditating correctly? How do you know what happens with the vibrations? How do you know if each chakra you can feel it or not? At what point do you feel it? These are the type of things I have given in the book, which helps a lot of people. And that's a good thing, right? A lot of people that haven't seen writing all those skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as you evolve spiritually, especially as you step into a commitment of a practice of meditation, you have different sensations and experiences. And what's great about your book is you explain those so that people don't become frightful. Because when you're experiencing something that's very new and you don't have a frame of reference, there's something about our mind that instantly is afraid of what it does not understand or has not experienced before. It becomes very suspicious. And it's usually from a negative point of view. And what's great is that you really do share, what may possibly happen so that people can still feel safe and move forward and continue to evolve in their spiritual practice, which is really beautiful.
Definitely. Yeah, and also I believe strongly that information and the knowledge you gain through this type of experience, self-realizing yourself, your own divinity, must be shared along with everybody. It's not something you keep it to yourself. Through your book, write a book about it, or give talks and explain to people and have a question and answer session. So people know about it. We're all together in this journey. We need to share all the information. We need to be together. It's all one, That's what I feel strongly.
Absolutely. Everyone light the way for everyone else. That's what this is all about here on the planet. So in terms of your book, what is, when you set out to share this information, it really was to provide a light and a pathway for others to follow. And so what do you hope that people who read your book take away at the end of the day about life and about themselves?
Yeah, I'm hoping that they will all spend few minutes trying to go deep within. At least that's what my hope is, because you never know what that turnaround can do to them, to uplift them. Try to get better in their life. The normal day-to-day life can get even better. If you can help in any way you can through my book or my talks, for the people who are turning around and saying, hey, maybe I should just sit quietly. Let me learn how to meditate. Let me just see what life is all about. At least if they're thinking in that kind of a thing, as opposed to the rat race they go through every day and forget about it into the routine. It's something different, right? Something, at least I've done something with my book, through my book. I have made them realize, made them look into it. Hey, let me look at this book. Let me see what she has to say. How did it go for her? So that's what I'm hoping. If I can make just a little difference in the world, that's good enough for me. I'm not here to change the whole world, but at least each bit helps.
Well, I'm pretty sure your book will make more than just a little bit of difference. Because, right now is a time when people are reaching and they're searching, because the way we have lived life in the past, it's not working anymore. You cannot have enough stuff to make you happy. I'm sorry, there's only so many brand new versions of iPhones that you can get.
Exactly. That is true. That is true.
There's no lasting joy in that. It may give you some instantaneous pleasure. I mean, as we're entering into a holiday season of Hanukkah and Christmas, where gifts are being exchanged, that only gives you a momentary experience of pleasure.
Exactly. I think you and I click quite nicely, Sylvia.
Exactly. Yeah, we're on the same page.
More like mine.
We're on the same page,
and look
love.
at you, how much you're offering to the world. Look at you with your show, with your radio show, with your beautiful way of you doing so much already for everybody.
Well, I mean, but it's one hand helping another, because I couldn't do this without the beautiful folks at Om Times, because one of the reasons that Om Times was even started, the magazine and the radio, is because they have a nonprofit where they support rescuing albino children in Africa, because they are in an unfortunate situation where they're actually being abducted and mutilated for their body parts by witch doctors. And so everything is a labor of love, and everything supports one another. And this is how we build a bridge to return back to source and consciousness, is going within and asking ourselves, what can I do in my own unique way to help heal the planet? First by healing ourselves. And meditation, coming home to yourself, is the very, very first step. That tapping in and asking those questions that you asked, Sarada, of, what is life really about? And when we do that, because consciousness is all about answering what we ask, we begin to get those answers that are perfect for us. Maybe it's not going to an ashram. Maybe it is just being in a mechanic's location, helping someone's car, giving them a 10% break because that's all they have to pay for their car. You just don't know. Every little bit does not have to look the same as everyone else's. You just do it in your own way. But you can't even hear your own way unless you go within.
That's true. That's very true, Sylvia.
Yeah.
Very true. Very nicely said.
Well, Sarada, you are just wonderful, and it's just been such a delight and pleasure to have you on the show. So, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's just, I was going to finish there actually. But is there something that you would like to leave the listeners with before we close out the show that will encourage them during these challenging times when life is feeling so much outside of our control? And that's something that the ego so wants to hold on to, is this illusion of control. What is the one thing you can leave the listeners with before we close?
Like I was telling you, Sylvia, before, I think we all have to turn around and look within rather than outside, because outer world is not going to satisfy anyone. It's always temporary, momentary. Its eventual peace and happiness comes only when they turn around and not, go within. That would be the best thing to do. And humans, we have to raise our consciousness. Every little bit helps. I mean, do a daily little bit, and then we're more at peace, and we can handle the life that's given to us, and what's in our plate. We can handle that much better, with much better capacity, and our potential will increase 10 times. To function well in this world. And that's what it is. It's just try to get deep within, and not necessarily you have to learn how to meditate right away, but at least sit still quietly for a few minutes every day. It could be a prayer, or it could be anything else. Sit still.
Yeah, and that makes all the difference in the world. Sarada, thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. I'll be back again next week, live on OMTimes.com, Thursday afternoon.